We're live. This is great. I'm
Yep.
excited. We're tweeting out right now, and the tweet has been posted. And now it's official that the After Show is back in business.
Perfect.
So, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the. No, I'm kidding.
All right,
That's
so
Do you
That's a-
remember the intro?
I do barely, but I think I do. Okay, here we go. Ready? Welcome to the After Show, where we, just a couple of friends, come together.
Go ahead. Start.
I forgot about that.
I was like expecting it. That's why I gave you guys a look.
Forgot about
The good old traditional joke. Interrupting the intro. Love it. Okay, so everyone, welcome. Welcome to the After Show, where we.
Oh, we're starting?
This is the After Show. We're just making fun, you know? We're a couple of friends. We come together and talk about all types of movies, usually unique, independent, and well-made. My name is Tucker Campbell, and I'm joined by...
Andrew Gonzalez.
News.
And we also not only talk about movies, but we kind of joke around. But thanks for joining us. This is episode Boyhood.
Boodle-dum.
Oh, there's no music. That's right.
That's where our intro would go. We'll put it in there somehow. But yeah, we're happy to have you here, and I hope you guys the zero viewers are enjoying our live podcast.
Perfect.
It's going really well.
I wonder how our stats have been since we've been off air.
I don't know. I haven't checked them, but I'm sure they're really high because we have a lot of fanatic fans.
That's what I think. Probably a lot of re-listens. They just miss the sound of our voice.
Fan favorites. They go back. They listen.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't look at the emails yet. We should have done that before
Should we
this.
look at emails? I can look at the emails right now.
Okay, you look at.
You guys
Just
talk.
give us-
I'll
Just
log
give
in.
us an email. Okay, great. Well, so today we're going to talk about Boyhood, which is this fantastic independent film that came out a few months ago. It's a uniquely cinematic film that was done over 12 years, directed and written by Richard Linklater, and it follows Mason Jr., this young boy who starts at 6 years old and grows and develops into being an 18-year-old going off to college. And we follow him and his sister and parents who are divorced and who they become of this time. So we kind of become attached to them. So other than that, though, before we get started and actually talk about what we thought about the movie, a little bit of background and some questions and discussing those things, let's talk a little bit about where we've been for 5 months. I'll start. I'm in a new city, so this is the first time we've ever had a live or video podcast, sort of.
It's the first time we've never not been in the same room.
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
And the reason is because I'm not in Austin anymore, and it's sad. I'm actually in Kansas City, working at an ad agency, and I'm living the life in the Midwest, if you can. If that's possible.
In the beautiful Midwest.
Is that okay? But real quick though, fall is actually happening, and I haven't experienced a fall, and it's actually kind of nice. Like today, it was high of 63.
What?
The falling all over me, and different colors, and I thought leaves were only green
Or brown.
or dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's actually kind of cool. Anyways, that's where I've been.
We got no emails.
Wait, what did you say?
No emails.
Oh, dang it! That's really surprising.
I'm assuming that we got so many that the server crashed and just deleted everything on its
That
own.
sounds right. That sounds right.
Google just said, no, you guys, this can't be right. This is all
Yeah.
spam. Check our spam folder. That might
Okay.
be where Google put it. Anyways, oh wait, what?
16 grams of email.
Wow.
Gigs of email.
Grams, yeah.
It's so much that they had to start measuring later.
Weight versus.
It now has like a physical weight.
Wow. So it's like basically translation to memory to actual male weight. That's great. That's awesome. Didn't know that happened. Well, maybe we can get to one of those later on in the episode. We can We'll see if that happens. We'll read a couple of them, get your feedback on. But anyways, let's move on. Andrew, what have you been up to for the past couple of months?
These past couple months have actually been kind of crazy for me. I was a teacher for a while. That is no longer the case. We don't have to get into the details of why that's so. But I'm just sort of, I'm living the dream right now. Just taking it day to day.
Wow. Well, that's great. I'm glad
That's it.
you're back. You're in Austin now because you weren't before, which
No, I was in multiple cities, but yeah, technically, I still live in San Antonio. I'm not actually living there.
So you have an apartment in San Antonio, which is where you were.
Yes,
And
but
now
I don't occupy that space currently.
Is all your lovely furniture still there?
It is. The apartment looks fabulous.
Do you sublet? Does someone else own, just sit in there, or is it just collecting dust?
It's just collecting dust. I'm legally obligated to live there, and they don't allow subletting. I found that out today.
You can
Yesterday.
secretly do that,
Can I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Craigslist.
Yeah, duh.
Someone
So
gives you the check. The check goes from you to the building.
Yep.
Doors opening.
Yep.
But yeah, that's it. That's all I got going on right now.
Great. All right. Harrison, what about you? What's been up for the past 5 months?
Not much. I've worked at several breweries. Just recently got hired by a brewery and then laid off for lack of funds like a month and a half later.
Oh.
So I too am unemployed right now.
That's okay.
That sucks, but
Yeah, no, things aren't going awesome down here.
Maybe I'm glad I got out while I could or something. Maybe. I don't know. Oh, okay. Well, one thing that we can all rely on.
I still have like 3 cases of free beer in my fridge.
I see. One thing we can all rely on is alcohol. So let's talk about what we're drinking tonight. Harrison, you want to start?
This is Deschutes, The Abyss, 2013. I'll show that.
Ooh,
Show
nice.
the bottle now. I bought this like almost a year ago, and it's been aging in my fridge, and it is delightful. It's a stout, brewed with blackstrap molasses, licorice, cherry bark, and vanilla. 6% aged in oak bourbon barrels, 11%. It's a complex. There's a lot going on. It's gotten better as it's warmed up to close to room temperature.
Nice.
Really opening up now.
And Andrew, I'm gonna go grab a bottle opener in my dresser. Tell them what you're drinking.
I got the traditional dolphin right here.
I have my Odell bottle opener that we got not too long ago.
It's on my keys right there.
Andrew, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a what am I drinking? Oh, it's
Lemonade and Deep Eddy sweet tea vodka.
yeah, lemonade and Deep Eddy sweet tea vodka.
And how's that go down?
It's good. It's really good.
Good.
It's really good. It tastes like a Tom Arnold.
It's so good. Not Tom Arnold, Arnold Palmer.
I call it a Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold is so much better. I love it.
That's awesome. And I am drinking a Odell IPA, which is one of the better beers you can get here in Kansas City. I'm gonna open this up with my Odell opener. Boom.
Tucker, when you come back for Christmas or whatever, can you bring me a 6-pack of Two Hearted?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just remind me.
I'll do that.
Yum. Uh-oh.
Odell IPA is choice. One of the best IPAs I've ever had.
It's delicious. That's actually like my go-to here. That and Bell's. I mean, they're both good, but Bell's is a little bit more expensive than Odell, so I typically just kind of bounce back and forth between those two. I'm trying to find some other good ones. Every once in a while, there's some other breweries that are around. So, but yeah, let's see. So we're drinking. I've already had a couple, but this podcast,
I've also had a couple already.
we love drinking, and loosens the gears, and we just go full steam ahead. So let's dive into the movie, I guess, since we typically would listen to our listeners and read some emails, but I kind of missed out on that because we've been away. There's too many. Yeah, we can't see them. Oh, we have a viewer. Hello there. So
Nice.
we're gonna dive into the
I
movie.
love it.
See how long they last.
We're going to dive into the movie now and talk a little bit more about Boyhood. So we already gave you a brief summary.
Or Teen Wolf, whatever.
And so we want to give our overall thoughts about Boyhood, and then also maybe Teen Wolf if you want to throw that in there as well. Just
Teen Wolf, we'll talk
because we
about
got a
whatever.
couple of followers who are Teen Wolf fans. Who would like to start talking about Boyhood? Andrew, it's you. Go.
Fuck. I really liked it. I had a more emotional response than I was expecting to have to it. I don't know. Did anybody else get that?
Absolutely, yeah. We can talk about that.
I was expecting a pretty emotional response, I think. And I got it.
It was good. It was very long. I thought that I can't remember what part specifically, but I felt like it lost speed at some point. I really hated him. I mean, I was supposed to hate him, but I really hated him when he was going through like his teenage phase.
I'm not sure you were supposed to hate him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I hated him at any moment in time. You understand that he's kind of that hard to deal with teenager, but that's normal for everyone, you know.
Were you ever like that?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say maybe in the same way. But I'm sure my parents, were like, "Oh, why aren't you like that?" Especially that moment where like they weren't asking, or their father was asking questions, and then they weren't really asking deeply. It was just kind of like short, brief answers. I mean, that happens, and same thing happens. So
Yeah.
that's just an
My
example.
whole life is just short answers. No meaning. Actually, it's almost every phone conversation I have with my mom, her asking me if something's wrong.
See, yeah, there are those moments, and then obviously some are worse than others. And I wouldn't say he was that bad, but he was just like off-putting.
He's a teenager.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
pretty
I was a dickhead in high school. I did the whole like sort of rebellious for no real reason thing.
Yeah. Anyways, so Harrison, what about your thoughts? Or Andrew, actually, do you want to give us a rating out of 10? What would you rate this movie?
Out of 10, I think I would say. One
more.
I think I would give it like an 8.937.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Harrison, what about you? Tell us a little bit about your overall thoughts and give us a rating.
I love this movie so much. It was immediately like walking out of the theater, like in my top 10 probably favorite movies of all time. It just hit me pretty hard, like emotionally, and I love the concept of everything, and just reminded me so much of like my childhood. At minimum, I'd give it a 9.562.
It's great. I totally agree. I love this movie. Like from the very beginning, it was just great. I've watched it 3 times now, and
So I.
it's yeah. Every time it's still good. Like the second time, I remember like thinking the same thoughts I did the first time.
Wait, how
But
many times have you seen it?
3,
That's a commitment.
this many.
It's like
Yeah, I know.
9 hours.
It's seriously. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's really good. Like I mean, the second time obviously I wasn't just focused on it. I was kind of just watching it and enjoying myself while watching it. But nonetheless, it's a really good movie. I really connected with it. I felt a little bit, maybe not so much just like Mason Jr., but like I remembered my childhood and maybe think back on my development and who I am, or all that mumbo jumbo kind of stuff. And I don't know, it just makes you feel good at the end for some reason. Like you grow up with these people almost. I don't know, connected with them in a way. So I really like that, and it's just a really cool way of filming a movie as well. So I'd give it like a 9 I don't know, 694. Like easy, actually. I almost want to give it even more, but
Yeah, I'm tempted to just go 10.
it's so I don't want to give anything a 10, but it's almost
I don't either, but I love this movie so much.
Yeah, it's so good. So yeah, it's great. But we've all kind of commented a little bit about how we've connected with it somewhat. I mean, I guess Andrew not as much, which we can talk about that. But let's go into, I don't know why. I honestly think some people are really going to enjoy this movie is because you think back to your childhood and those little unordinary, sometimes very ordinary moments that just make everything and make you, realize that you're growing and developing as a child and kind of figuring things out for your own self. Yeah, let's talk to that. Talk to it, Andrew. Why didn't you, I guess, connect with it as much as I think Harrison and I did?
Even though 8 is a good score.
8's a very good score. I mean, I liked it. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the disconnect between like the level of enjoyment that you guys got from it and where I was with it is like it's small. I mean, it's significant, but it's small. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah.
Did
you not feel like your childhood was the same like development path, or was it the same, on the same track as Mason Jr. or maybe even his sister Samantha? No.
I mean, no, I didn't really identify with him. I mean, I identified with the surroundings in terms of like where the story takes place, but not really with like his specific path.
I mean, that's probably worth mentioning now too. Is this movie was largely filmed in Austin. Pretty much the time we were all growing up in Austin, also. So, I mean, this is really like our childhood. I mean, we're like 4 or 5 years older than Mason, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and also there's almost this like subconscious like cue that happens, like the music that is going along through this movie also kind of different memories, and like
Yellow by Coldplay is like the perfect.
Yeah.
It has that sort of like nostalgic sound to it, but also it just like puts you right in 2002.
Yes.
It's so true. I mean, songs do that in general. Like you can listen back to a song that you loved, 2 years ago, and you'll remember kind of what was happening in your life. And this movie did a really good job of bringing that into it. Not only was it visually capturing, but sound-wise and what they were talking about, and the scenes, like when they went to go get the Harry Potter book. I don't know if Harrison, you read the Harry Potter books, but like I remember going to a late night, midnight release of a Harry Potter release when I was
like, the third one.
Yeah, I think it was the third one too for me actually. Like that same thing happened to me, and then just little events that just remind you of your own childhood, and like, oh man, that was a big deal, but you don't always think about it. And I think this movie brings those little tiny things up, and I loved it. Like that really what just jived really well for me.
I feel like maybe the reason Andrew didn't connect with it as much is just because Mason gets sort of rebellious towards everything, and Andrew never did that.
Yeah.
Well, I got fairly rebellious in high school, and I drew anarchy symbols all over everything. I did that whole thing.
Yeah.
I did. I listened to a lot of punk and metal and loud music Well, Andrew listens to folk and bossa nova.
There's still a lot of folk.
See, I mean, I was okay. I'm
He wore
probably in the
polos in
middle.
high school. I was wearing black flag
And you're
t-shirts.
still wearing polos to this
I'm wearing
day,
a polo
Andrew.
right
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was like extremely rebellious. Like I was a little bit, but not so much. But that's partially because that my parents, I guess, in a sense. But that's a different topic. And I think I actually want to bring up the parents in this movie because the second time I watched it, I focused more on everyone else besides Mason Jr. I was really trying to figure out what the whole picture looked like. And honestly, I think Linklater, the director, he really wanted to portray the growth of parenthood as well. Not only Mason Jr. and this child developing, but how parents kind of figure out what they're doing, because there's a couple of scenes in this where they really, you can tell they don't really know exactly what they're doing and what they're, what's happening, and they have to figure it out for themselves, just like you do when you're a kid. And so let's talk about like parenthood and maybe growing. Obviously, none of us are parents, but we can talk to our parents and maybe how
Absolutely
they
not.
grew and developed. But like, yeah, can you think back to your parents and how they developed maybe, and maybe how different it was when you were 5 years old from, I don't know, now 20, 25?
That's what's interesting about this movie for me is like I can't really think about how my parents developed because I've seen them every day
Yeah.
in that whole time period, and there's a more clear development when you jump a year forward.
Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so I'm sure they have, but
I guess to me, like my mother, she was a single mother for the first like 3 years of my life, and so I can tell though from the very beginning when I was younger that she was just trying to figure things out, and she really didn't know, and now she knows how to kind of let go and really, I don't know, to be a little bit different person. And the same thing with my father. He was kind of controlling when I was younger, but not as much when you're older. Like there's just something that changes because you kind of figure some stuff out, and I don't know. I like that. I think the cool thing is when you start being a parent, Andrew, you might not ever be a parent, but but the idea though is that you're still developing constantly. I think that's the overall thought. It doesn't need to be a parent. Maybe it's in your career, maybe it's in something else, but you don't really know what you're doing sometimes, and you kind of have to fail at it to figure it out. And I think that movie plays to that really well.
drop the mic.
A little too early, Harrison. Yeah, so Andrew, you've seen this movie twice now. Did you pick anything up the second time other than like, that was different from your experience the first time? Can you speak to that?
I think the one thing that I did pick up on the second time when I watched it that actually got worse for me was I felt like his daughter, what's his name?
Samantha.
Her name?
Samantha.
Yeah. Is that her real life name or her
Oh, no,
character?
Her real name's Lorelai Linklater.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought her acting was better when she was younger.
Yeah, I mean she has said in interviews that like when she was like 8 years old or 9 maybe when the movie started, she was really into acting at that point, and
Yeah.
like asked her dad to be in it,
Mhm.
and at some point in the middle she wasn't interested in doing it anymore, and asked her dad, Richard Linklater, if her character could be like killed off or something.
Yeah, totally. I heard that in the
He
comments.
said like, no, this isn't that movie. You have to stick through it now. So it was true. In the middle, she wasn't as interested as she was when she was little. Yeah, I think that was weak as when they were like teenagers. But then, towards the end of the movie, when she's in college, she's a couple years older. She must have been, I don't know, 20 towards the end of the movie. I mean, it was fine. When they visit Austin, I thought her acting was fine again there.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. But it was more important too at the very end, because another point of this movie is like the sibling relationship, and the very end, what I think from what I understand from reading and watching some commentaries, Linklater was trying to actually like showcase the growth of siblings as well. Like it's not like you're fighting throughout this you know all this time you're fighting and you feel like even there's that one scene where Samantha says that I don't really love my brother, like it's we just fight all the time. And that's the same thing as when you're a kid. You think the same thing. You're like, they're annoying. I don't care for my sibling. But then once you're older, you mature and you kind of realize like they're the person that grew up with you, that knows so much more about you and your parents and all the terrible things maybe you thought about your parents when you were growing up because they weren't going through this alcoholic or marrying alcoholic fathers or whatever it may be. So I mean, there's like this really deep connection with your sibling, in which you kind of get at the very end with between Samantha and Mason Jr. I don't know, I think that's kind of a cool thing too. But you're right, Samantha or Lorelei or whatever, Lorelei. What is it? Lorelei. Yeah, she there was that point in the middle kind of where she was like out of it, not really into to acting anymore. So I don't know. What about your thoughts on like maybe the sibling relationship for Boyhood?
I mean, if me and my sister have never really been close, like at any point, so I can't really. It's just the whole like getting closer as I got older that never really happened. If anything, I'd say we're probably more distant now than ever before.
I'm sure there's still things you can connect on if like it needed to happen. I mean, not to say that it obviously it doesn't happen every day. I'm the same way. Like I don't necessarily speak to my siblings every single day. I'm not like super close, and neither were Mason and Samantha in this story. But I'd say it's easier for me to talk to my siblings now than it was 10 years ago when we were probably fighting constantly. You know, we had to put up the barrier in the middle of the car because we were going to hit each other if that didn't happen. And so now I think there's a little bit more of a connection, and we can talk about, remember back when we used to wrestle or just punch each other because, I don't know, we wanted to hurt one another or whatever. There's I don't know, it reminds me of childhood a little bit again, so yeah. What about you, Andrew?
What?
What about your siblings? What? What are you talking about?
What?
Andrew's already drunk.
I've always been close with my younger brother.
Yeah.
Less so with my older siblings, just because I think there was such a big age gap. Like they grew up in the 80s, with like practically a different set of parents.
Mm.
But yeah, there are only 2 years between Adrian and I, so we grew up in pretty much the same conditions. We have a lot in common. I've always been really close with him. I don't think we ever went through a period where we weren't close.
Yeah. So let's talk about, we didn't mention earlier, maybe a favorite scene through the movie, or maybe something that I don't know, felt was done really well. Harrison, do you have a favorite scene, or Andrew?
I think I'm going to go to that one that we were talking with Javier about yesterday, where
Javier is just a friend of ours. No one knows.
He's a gaming.
That's true. Andrew's 2014. That doesn't need to be mentioned.
I mean, I just wanted to get it out there, just so that everyone knows that we don't.
Just in case you also want to meet Javier.
Knows we do have gay friends, so like, don't throw that label on us.
It's not a big deal. We're progressive.
I thought Andrew, you were trying to like help Javier get a hook up or maybe a.
He's done it several times.
Oh yeah.
Tucker with your old roommate.
I do.
I don't know if that was with Javier. I think that might have been with your brother.
No. It was definitely with Javier. It was at your graduation party.
No, I think that was with. No. I think that was with Lawrence.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It might have happened at my graduation party because I don't think anyone remembers anything from that party almost.
No, I was so drunk at your graduation party.
That was a mess. That day was a mess.
It was a lot of fun though.
I had a great time.
Memories. That's part of our childhood. Anyways,
I don't know if it's childhood. We were all in our 20s at that point. But
Yeah, we'll continue, Andrew. What was the scene you're going to bring up?
Oh, where Patricia Arquette is sitting in the kitchen, and she's like, "What does she say again?"
I thought there'd be more.
I thought there'd be more.
Oh, yeah.
Mason doesn't want to take the first picture he took with him.
Yeah, I think like in that moment, like you really get like a sense of like despair from Patricia Arquette. Like, she's one person that was like, I thought, or at least for my money, was like consistently like quality throughout the whole movie. Ethan Hawke too. Yeah, I also like that scene or that whole little sequence when they're at Ethan Hawke's in-laws' house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was this in-laws or his parents?
It's his new wife's parents.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
her
yeah.
parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's her parents.
And he gets a suit, a Bible, and a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great presents.
I really like that little
15th birthday. That's what the
scene.
birthday. Yeah. No, let's go back to the first one. The first scene you talked about. I really, that's a great scene to bring up because it's like it really does show you to think about like how your life is set up. Because I mean, it makes me think. She obviously jumps, just like Mason brings up. She like jumps from being, I don't know how old she is, maybe late 40s or something, or mid 40s, and she's like, "What's next for me? Death." You know, like she jumps this huge gap, and it's partially because,
Mason says, "Aren't you jumping ahead about 40 years there, Mom?"
yeah, exactly, and it's true. But at the same time, it's like you have to, like, it makes you think about what's happening. Like, what are you shooting for? What
is this all about?
Yeah, like, and that's the question that Mason brings up, like almost a scene or two before with his father. He's like, "Hey, what is everything?" Like that was his question. Was like, what are we doing? And he's like, "How am I?" Like Mason Senior answers, "How am I supposed to know? No one knows. Everyone's just winging it." And that's the answer to the question of like, what is everything? It's just you're trying to figure it out for yourself. Be your own person. You're responsible for who you are and no one else. And I think you have to question it though sometimes. Is like, what is this for and what am I doing? And so she broke down at that moment because she was trying to figure out like what's the next point because she didn't necessarily know. And so it was emotional. I totally agree that that was a great scene. And yeah, I wouldn't even know how to respond to that either. So. But
mentioning that, I think one of my favorite scenes. I mean, I love there's supposed to be more scene that was maybe the most emotionally impacting scene of the film, but I really like that scene towards the end where it was Mason and his dad at Antone's.
Yeah.
That concert. If you're not from Austin, you would know that's Antone's, but.
Mm-hmm.
There at that show, I felt like it was like the real like wrapping up of the movie, like all the fatherly advice really just like culminated in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a scene also that I realized the second time watching in this movie that this movie is so much about growth as just a person and not just a child, you know, because he even mentions he's like 10, 12 years ago, I wasn't the father that your mom wanted me to be, but if she just waited a little bit longer, now I am. Because he grew up too. He developed and he figured out what he wanted and all that stuff. So
I got that more from the scene when he showed up to pick Mason up and he was in a minivan instead of the GTO.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Yeah, he just had his.
And now he had a baby and a wife.
Yeah, baby and all that stuff. That's very true. You definitely see it throughout the movie. And I know when I watched it the final last time, I was watching this entire thing and thinking the same thing, like just trying to watch the parenthood progress. But to the quote that I just mentioned, he grows up so much in that last one that he tells Mason Jr. How much he's grown up. He said, I wasn't the person your mom wanted me to be before, but now I am, and here I am. Like we're all winging it. And I think that is one of my favorite lines from the movie is and it's because it's so true, but it's the answer of what's the point of everything, and he just says, I don't know, we're all just winging it. Like there's no answer to that because you have to figure it out yourself. Like you can't ask someone else. You can't ask your father even. You can't even ask your parent who raises you for 18 years of your life to answer it for you, because you have to kind of develop and figure it out yourself.
Yeah, and I think that sort of fits in with like the movie doesn't really have, like, there's no story here. You know what I mean? Like there's no plot. Like we're just seeing like a snapshot of his life, and that's it. but like there's not like a central conflict that he's trying to solve. Like this is just like his life, and he's just like lives it for the 12 years that we see it. And so I think that that sort of like fits in with the style of the movie overall, is that there's not so much like a point. Like we're just seeing a chunk of this kid's life, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like we get to know the characters really well, but it's not a movie that's necessarily like driven by plot.
Yeah, so every story is typically based off of like a struggle, you know.
Like
And
there's a central problem that the character is trying to
right.
solve. Yeah.
And this one, the struggle is
It's
just
just life.
Yeah. So it's just that, which is great because everyone can kind of connect with that in some sort of way, and it's so, I don't know. Obviously, other people connect with it more, but yeah, it makes you think about your own struggles in your life, and I think it's almost more important because other movies try to connect with you on maybe one struggle that's unique to a group of people, whereas this movie is kind of a broader look where it's just like, hey, everyone has struggles, everyone goes through growth and failure and all this stuff, and so it communicates with so much more, and yeah, that's really cool, and it's an important point to bring up. So.
It's a really good movie.
It is so good. So let's other than that, I wanted to bring up, and we kind of talked about it before, how we connected this movie in a sense because we all grew up in Texas, but even more importantly, we grew up in Austin, and this is kind of outside of the movie itself, but I just want to bring up that a couple of movies I've watched this year, and this one was one of them especially, is that when they bring up Austin and they show and highlight Austin scene, it just makes you love the city of Austin and feel so lucky to actually have grown up there. But it was a lot of fun watching
This
that too.
was different in that a lot of it was filmed in Austin, and we could tell it was filmed in Austin because we've all lived there for so long.
Yeah.
But they don't say look at how great Austin is until that scene when they're walking down the drag and going to Magnolia and
Yeah.
standing
No,
on the roof of a courthouse, which was weird. I mean,
yeah, there was some good scenes in there, and that's very true.
he said he hadn't been to Austin since he was a little.
Even though that first scene was filmed in Austin, and you can kind of tell. So it's yeah.
And then they said they were moving to Houston, and I mean, clearly a lot of Houston was in Austin.
Yeah. And then
Some of it was in Houston. We saw the bail bonds.
That's true. Houston, for those that have never been to Houston, is mostly filled with bail bonds places. Is downtown Houston.
Uh-huh.
90% bail bonds places.
yeah.
But there was a lot of Austin, probably some that I didn't recognize. Definitely the liquor store that they stop at a couple times.
Mm.
The first drunk, abusive stepdad. I know exactly where that is. It's 10 minutes from here. That was definitely Austin.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm also talking about just those scenes where it's this is definitely Austin. Even they were visiting
Yeah, visiting UT.
Yeah, but it just makes you. I mean, maybe it's because I'm in Kansas City right now, and so I'm not there. But I watched a couple of movies recently that highlighted Austin for at least a couple 10, 15 minutes, and it's just geez, I was so lucky to live in this great city, especially living around a bunch of people who were oh, I'm from a small town in the middle of nowhere. I lived on a farm, and you're okay, that's cool, whatever. But sorry, I'm I'm from Austin, and they're that's awesome. I was yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, I am glad I grew up in Austin.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's a great city.
It's just kind of cool, and once again, this movie just brought me back to childhood and just made me think about my growth and development as this young, immature child or whatever. And
You are immature.
Still immature. I'm still growing. Still a child. So it's really cool though. So let's move to a little bit of the end of this movie and talk about some of the growth. I think for me, another point that I loved about this movie is that the first hour and a half to 2 hours of this movie, you're developing, you're really seeing and getting to know these characters, and then the last 45 minutes, you know who they are, you know where they've come from, and you're connecting with them so much so that you're just like, I honestly think the last 40 minutes for me is really good because like everything affects me because you're like, this is my friend now almost, like this, I know this person. So the reason I bring
it's a very character-driven movie. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
it's entirely character-driven. There's almost no plot. It's just character.
Well, so the reason I bring this up is because part of the reason why this movie was ever created was, and I've watched a couple of commentaries, but Richard Linklater, where he was talking about how he wanted to showcase just child development, but he couldn't do it in the traditional format where you show a young child and then you have to get a different actor to show an older child, So you have to showcase every little tiny unique detail that happens throughout your childhood. And so sometimes it's not even a really big moment in life, He might not show you the actual graduation of walking across the stage and getting a diploma, but he'll show you those weird, unique things that happen right afterwards, like talking with your father about the meaning of life at a concert that, or just
it's true though. Like from the night I graduated high school, I don't really remember the graduation. I remember the graduation party I went to that night.
Yeah.
Like that's what I remember.
Which is awesome that he portrays that, and then it makes you think about those moments too. It makes you think about what are those little things that really defined who I am or who I actually was thinking about where I was growing up and trying to figure out who I was. And it is those moments where you're sharing with your parents or your friends or, just weird times where you don't know what's happening. You're, drinking in a not even finished house with people you don't know, and you're just messing around or whatever. So so it's just like it's really cool that moment or this movie showcases that, whereas a lot of other movies don't. They showcase those really big times like prom night where you're thinking part of prom, like dancing, your first dance at prom is going to be so important, whereas really it's like the little tiny things, like the next day is more important, where you're just like recalling everything from maybe prom night or something like that. Not that that movie highlights that feature, but there's things like that, in this movie that I think is really cool to showcase. And the discussions he has with like his boss over at when he's his first job was just like the random little discussion about that. And there's so many weird little things that add up, and I think that's the overall arc. Is just everything adds up to this big characteristic of who you've become, which is so cool to see in a movie. Where it's like in other movies, it's just like one struggle, you fail, you learn, and then here's the lesson everyone needs to figure out. And that's the point of a lot of other movies, and this one does it way better.
Yeah.
I'm just ranting now. You guys aren't even talking, so speak up.
That's great. I agree.
Yeah, so where I was going with this is I wanted to get to the end of this, and the quote that I kind of wrote down as well was, and it's a little outside of the plot itself. Obviously, there's not very much plot, but there was a quote that says, I was talking to Mason Jr., it was his mother's friend or whatever, doesn't matter, but the quote was, "You find your people in college," is what I want to bring up. And first of all, I really think you obviously have already developed a lot before 18 years old, and I think you kind of know who you are, before that. But at the same time,
developing before 18.
Yeah, so there's a lot that happens, but I think the other thing that you figure out is that it's not just college that you find your people in, but you're constantly growing, and I think that plays into the part of the parents. They were growing as well. Honestly, I'm gonna say I can't speak for everyone, but in college for me, I didn't necessarily find my people, but I mean I found maybe a little bit more about myself, and I can't agree with that cliche. It's really a cliche. It's weird, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think I want to keep on emphasizing the fact that everyone is constantly growing, and you're not gonna stop. And I don't think it's a reasonable enough statement to say, oh, you finally figure out who you are when you go to college because you're away from your parents or whatever the hell you're doing. So let's speak to that. I mean, what do you guys think? Obviously, you have different perspectives per se.
No, I think that's true. I hated most of the people that I met in college. Yeah, most of them. I mean, there were some good ones, but I felt like I don't know. I feel like I meet people all the time that I don't like. Where am I going with this?
So you just don't like people in general.
I mean, overall, I
We've
hate.
talked about this before.
Yes.
I mean, I get that. Yeah, like, I mean, I didn't go to as much college as you guys. I bailed on it pretty quickly because fuck that noise. But I mean, like the people that I did meet, like the year that I actually like lived on campus and everything, like I don't talk to them anymore. Like the people that I have met since I've been like college age are more like just people that became like friends through like my high school friends. And it's mostly just like high school friends that I've hung out with since then.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been, like work friends and things like that that I hang out with. But yeah, like the core of the people that I hang out with most of the time is like like you guys plus a few others that I've known
Yeah.
since high school.
Yeah, it's so true though. Like I have a couple of friends from college that'll probably be my friends for a long time, but it wasn't that I found them and that we like connected in some weird way that we're just like we're meant for each other to be friends forever. Like it wasn't anything like that. It was
I don't think I've ever said that to anybody.
I don't think I've ever said that to anyone either.
My,
So it's just funny though because
Who's weirdly like 6 years younger than me. Whatever. He's the
he's very
best.
good. He's a great
doesn't
kid.
matter.
But it's the same thing though. Like I'm still friends with just unique people that it's not like a specific event in my life that I'm just like these are finally the people I'm gonna be with for the rest of eternity. It's more like you figure out who you are and you find people that you enjoy spending time with, and it's nothing to call it like really figure out in one moment of life. Like you're never gonna find everything out in one moment of life. Is I think the big
Yeah, the
point.
people that I really feel like I'll be friends with forever pretty much are all people I knew in high school.
Yeah.
Like you guys and, Daniel and Javier. Like, I'll talk to you guys forever probably.
Yeah.
Until we die.
Until the end. Yeah. So let's the other or do you have any other points about that? Anyone?
I have to piss.
Okay. You go take a break. Andrew and I will just talk amongst ourselves.
I'm just gonna step out in the backyard.
Okay, sounds good.
Alright.
So, first point, while we're just taking a break, Andrew and Harrison are at Harrison's lovely parents' place, and I'm glad I'm not there because it's a great time. We've shared a lot of memories and moments together, podcasting, enjoying ourselves at that pool table, which is awesome.
It's a beautiful pool table.
It's a great place, and it's sad. I'm sitting on a floor podcasting. If you can't tell,
Like a poor person.
practically a poor person. I'm surprised it's not like covered in hay on the ground or something. But
Practically.
I'm glad. Well, it's wood. Okay. Knock.
You have
knock.
one?
It's wood flooring. So hey, it's high quality stuff here in Kansas City. Casey Mo, as they call it.
What?
Casey Mo. Cool.
Who
'Cause
calls it that?
I'm on the Missouri side, not the Kansas side, So people call it Casey Mo versus Kansas, whatever. Anyways,
I guess.
yeah, whatever. All right, Andrew, you're not from the Midwest, neither am I, but hopefully they're not turning me into one of them because I don't want to be. Hey, if that one viewer though, if you're from the Midwest, sorry, it's true.
Do we still have the one viewer?
We do still have one viewer. I'm really happy that you stick around, and it's pretty awesome.
Perfect. I love it.
I was hoping to get like one more so you guys can like have a discussion about what we're talking about. That would be awesome.
So so the two viewers can have a discussion.
Yeah, they could be like commenting like these people are deep. No, just like whatever they want to say. They can be anything. They could troll us all for all I care. That would be great. I love trolls for our show at least. That'll be fun.
Not real life trolls though.
Those are my cousins, Andrew.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was inappropriate.
It was a little inappropriate. Luckily enough, they're only step cousins. So It's not blood. Whatever. Anyways.
Harrison's back.
Oh, nice. Perfect timing, almost. I don't know how long we've been podcasting for. Probably about 45 minutes, I think, is about right. There's not like a time on this thing. We're just kind of hanging out live, but we can go all night if we wanted to.
All night long?
All night long.
All night.
So, yeah.
Tucker said one time he jacked off all night long.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
That was the end of the story. It was everything. It was the build up and the climax and the release and everything. Harrison, you ready to talk about Boyhood again?
He's behind me. Can you see it?
Mm.
You see it?
Is it? Yeah, I can see it. Is he making a drink?
He is.
Nice. So some other things we'll be talking about, I guess, is we can talk a little bit more about about. Yeah, the closer I get to the north, the more Canadian like I am.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's scary. I don't want to be like that.
Canadian?
Yeah, Canadian.
You could grow a beard.
I've got a short beard. Does that
I can't
count?
see it.
Yeah, it's not really a beard. I would probably say no.
You see mine?
No, I can't see yours. It looks a little like just, I don't know.
This is what the after show's about.
Drinking?
This is the liquor part of the drink.
Oh, yes. Are you gonna? Oh, you're gonna pour something in there. Okay, I thought you were just drinking the liquor. Is there any ice in that, or is that just liquor and Sprite?
Just liquor and Sprite.
Room temperature liquor and Sprite. I like it.
So the Sprite is cold.
Ah, it's not gonna be cold for very long. Let's see. Oh, you already talked about that one, Andrew. But let's get back to the movie. So we were talking about basically like college and throughout this movie and the development of where Mason Jr. kind of gets to. So let's jump to the very end. We've already discussed a little bit about his mother breaking down and talking about I thought there would be more. But let's go one scene further in him reaching college. And in the last, and just talk about the end and how we felt about maybe how they ended, how Richard ended the movie. Richard, we're on first name basis, by the way, so we're good buds. And
I call him the Link.
That's a cool nickname. I like that too.
The Link.
Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, let's talk about the end and the quote that he kind of says, or they discuss. It's not really him. It's his new connection that he just. Girl that he just met.
Seize the moment.
Yeah, the moment seizes us versus the moment, like seize the moment kind of thing. So let's talk about that end, and also I just want to bring up the fact how like I really wish I was just walking around the Big Bend and hanging out there. Amazing.
May or may not be on, psychedelic substances.
Oh, right. Well, that's fine, though. That's
the big part of it.
That's standard. Yeah, that might be helping the quote come to life, but that's okay. Whatever. But the quote is, I don't think it's the moment seizing us. I don't think we should seize the moment. It's more about how the moment is constantly seizing us.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think about the ending and that quote?
I love it.
Yeah.
You like it?
I like the quote.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I guess the reason why I brought it up because I thought there would be a little bit more controversy is my roommates who I went to the movie with, they didn't really like the end. They thought it was kind of a cliche, even though it was kind of
Your roommates sound like jackasses.
They sort of are. They really are.
Whoa!
Good thing they aren't here to hear me because they would probably bust down that door.
Bet.
No, but it's sure, it's a little bit of like it's not a cliche because it's not constantly being said.
But here's what I thought, like, it is kind of a cliche.
True.
But when you're like barely a freshman in college, you're 18 years old, that's the kind of thought you would have that you think is like groundbreaking, and it's not really. It's just bullshit.
Reverse some other cliche.
18-year-old head, you're like, this is fucking crazy. Like, I just figured it out.
Yeah, that's so true.
It is cliche, but they're 18 years old. You have those thoughts.
Yeah, I totally agree. No, it's a good ending though. I think it makes sense though because it's exactly what the movie is kind of summarizing in a sense too. It's just like it's not necessarily about trying to go after the one little moment per se, but it's more about just like thinking about all of them adding up to take into full effect and to like really understand everything. And that I think
I
that
like it. Yeah, I think like.
like that makes sense though, right? I mean, or am I just bullshitting here? And
No. I think I like that. I think that like not not getting caught up in trying to like I guess capture things,
Mhm.
but like allow yourself to really like experience it.
Man, you speak the truth, Andrew. I love it.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like like we spend so much time like trying to capture like moments in our lives.
Yeah, because okay, so
We get so caught up with like the chase of like trying to capture them that we forget to like just like let it happen to you and like feel it.
yeah, I have 2 points. So, example is I hate that sometimes I feel like I need to do something because just to like say I've done something, but instead it's more like just go out and do it and enjoy it without having to like talk about it or do it because someone else needs you to do it or whatever it may be. Like it's so important though just to kind of think back on all those moments that make that happen and whatnot. Like a couple weeks ago I was just like screw this, no one else is gonna tell me to go to this crazy party or whatever. I'm just gonna go out and figure out something for myself. And that like there's that moment that I decided was gonna seize me versus kind of me trying to go out and enjoy someone else's moment and seizing it. I don't know. There's definitely points to speak to that.
Yeah. Andrew's left without saying anything. He didn't hear any of that.
I was like, yeah, Andrew, he's on the same wavelength. He understands, knows what I'm talking about.
Don't use all that liquor. I still need that. That's fine.
So we're getting to the end of the show where we're just enjoying. I think this is a really good podcast. I've enjoyed the conversation we've had. I think on everything we've said is straight to point. So
I'm trying to think of something else that I wanted to say about it.
dogs are barking. They're yelling at me.
Where are your roommates?
Actually, they're probably just pulling up right now. But they were at some bar hanging out, whatever. So, but yeah, we've done a really good job. Had a ton of like points that I wanted to bring up, and I brought up most of them, and I think it's pretty awesome. We've covered the movie mostly throughout. I'd say maybe something that we could talk about is just film style, but once again, like the train. Okay, I do want to bring up because my roommate, who is just a dum-dum,
Ooh.
Chad. She's gonna say.
If they're home, can we bring them in? Can we talk to
Ooh,
them?
that's a good point. I could bring him up. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, so at one point he told me right afterward, he's like, I sometimes like didn't even recognize the changes in age and the transitions, and I was like, I thought that was really smooth. I thought like everything was done really well to where you're like, yeah, he's definitely changed. He's a year older now or 2 years older, or whatever it may be, and I thought it was pretty obvious from how he wrote it.
Just rewatching it this week, there were times where it's hard to tell, but not. I mean, sometimes it's obvious when he's older, but like the beginning of the movie when he moves from 7 to 8 years old, there's nothing really there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a sort of a different scene, and you have to assume he's a year older at that point.
Yeah, well, one thing I do like too is that it's like the very beginning they can explain more about like what's happening. Obviously you experience breakups from her being married to that first terrible guy who like throws the glass at Mason Jr. and all the other stuff. Like, so you see the clear breakup, but then like later relationships they just are cut, and then it's the next scene where he's not in the picture anymore. Like
the guy's just sort of kind of an asshole. He's drunk at the front door, and then he's just not there anymore at the next scene.
Yeah.
And you can see it coming, but you don't see it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I think the reason I'm bringing it up is just because I think the transitions were done really well. So not only is the story really good and all this other stuff, and the characters and the actors and whatever, the transition and the filming direction is really well done, and like I think it's smooth and it's not abrasive, or it's nothing that's distracting and ruining anything because of it. So it's good stuff. Is there anything else we want to bring up? I think we've done a really good job.
I think we've covered everything that I wanted to cover, at least.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Probably, obviously, the first time we've podcasted in 5 months, but I honestly really felt really good about this podcast. So, good job, everyone. Even from
smoothly.
The weird, like, different city or videoing and everything, but I'm excited. I think we can even post this up and keep it going, and we'll see what happens. But thanks to our one viewer and our many viewers in the future who are going to be watching.
We still have that one viewer?
Yeah, we do. Them, she or he.
That's amazing.
You stuck around.
I'm glad you're still here, and who knows, you might just have the tab open, just hanging out in the background, but it's fine. We
I'd say it is like a reward for sticking around.
I think so too.
Email us, and like you can be a guest on the show if you want.
Identify yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd like to talk to you.
Email us at the aftershow at gmail.com, right?
Twitter.
No, it's just aftershow
podcast at gmail.com.
Oh yeah, aftershow podcast at gmail.com.
Twitter aftershow.
Yeah, direct message us on Twitter aftershow.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know, and honestly, we could probably get you on live, and if you tell us a movie or two that you really enjoy, we'll figure it out.
No porn.
Probably.
Maybe.
Or porn, if you really want.
If
Probably
it's
porn.
really cinematically done well.
It's fine. Just porn's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been really fun. I'm excited.
I'd rather not gay porn. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that or anything.
No,
it's just
absolutely
not for me. But it's 2014.
But if it's cinematically done well, and if the story and plot is all there, why not? Okay, we'll see. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I'll do it if we need to. Would I like it? Maybe a little. I mean,
yep, sounds about right. Anyways, so yeah, thanks again for hanging out with us this evening, and we're excited to post this as soon as we can for everyone else. Follow us on Twitter, After Show, and send us emails, aftershowpodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you guys want to?
like us on Facebook.
Oh yeah, like us on Facebook too.
That's right. We have Facebook.
And then we don't know what we'll be podcasting next, but hopefully soon, and we'll probably do it live again, obviously. So we'll get more viewers.
Seems to be the only way we can do it at this point. So.
Yeah.
Well, tell your friends. This is what I'm saying. So tell your friends. Maybe we'll just become a live show and do whatever.
Let's get a nice chat room going in here.
I love it. More discussion, the better, because then we can like bring up random questions.
Yeah, we can bring up the points that everyone else has.
Yeah. And then, yeah, you can suggest us whatever we want.
Maybe next time, hopefully, right after this, we'll set a date for the next, and we'll say the date and which movie we're doing, and then
we can tweet it out. We can tell everyone.
Just heads up for people that have never listened before. It's usually 2 movies.
We just gonna say. Our viewer's gone, but I'm surprised that they stayed that long. It's amazing that they went that long. It's incredible. It's like I can't believe the entire podcast they're listening.
I mean, I think that's impressive.
Very impressive that we kept them on edge with our podcast.
The first confirmed person we had listened to like an entire podcast.
Yeah, it's so true.
Almost an entire podcast.
Well, this is, yeah, and I honestly think this is probably considered done. So
Yeah, I'd say this is it. On podcasts
Uh,
I listen to, I'll skip the last 2 minutes. Every
yeah,
once
where
in
it's
a
just
while.
like more advertising and more like random
Credits.
Just
Yeah,
notes and credits, yeah.
yeah. So true. Anyways, good stuff, guys. I don't know what else to say, but I'm excited. We have to figure out the next movie, though. I don't know what it will be, but
Should we talk off air?
yeah, let's
do
talk. I'll Google Hangout you guys in a second.
All right.
But
Big kiss.
bye, everyone.